Hi everyone, welcome to the Fast Funnel video all about the assessment stage of the funnel. So let's dive right into what we're going to cover in this video. First, why the assessment step is so important, then how to set up the call technically, how to conduct the fast filter call, and then mindset and pro tips on the call. So hopefully it'll be quite quick for you, but it'll be a really important tool in your coaching business as you grow it. So why the assessment step is so important first? Well, it's an easier next step for most people. Now, this can depend on the industry. Obviously, if you're an executive or leadership coach and you work with CEOs of big companies, you're not going to probably say to them, hey, can we just have a quick 15-minute chat? But you may have another way to filter or assess them just to check that they're the right fit initially, but then you may have to go straight to the longer conversation. But in most cases, a lot of people want to have that initial quick conversation, and then so that's why it's an easier next step than, okay, I don't know who you are, and I'm going to give you an hour of my time to come speak to me about coaching. So it's a really nice way to transition into and build trust into that longer conversation. It saves you time because you're only spending a short amount of time to determine if people are the right fit for you or not. And it adds another touch point to build more trust. So, research is always changing about how many touch points it takes to sell different things. And it really depends on the product and how quickly you can build that trust. But just having that other quick call and then another sales call after it, you've already added in another touch to build additional trust. And it begins the selling process by highlighting the gap between where they are and where they want to be. We're going to talk more about this in the next video about expanding that gap and positioning your coaching as the bridge between those 2 points. But it's really, really important that you start the process here and you're starting to warm them up to this idea that there's some problem that they want to solve and that you can help them with it. So, how to set up the call technically. So this is Zoom logo. So you can use just a regular phone or Skype if you want, but we recommend using Zoom so that you can easily record your calls. Now, again, don't do this at the sacrifice of client experience. If they only have a phone call and they don't want to get on a Zoom link and it's too complicated, just give them a call. That's absolutely fine. And there's certain things you can use to record things on your phone to do that, but we just use Zoom, especially once you start automatically scheduling things with Schedule One, it integrates nicely. Also, Zoom is good because it easily integrates with Google Calendar. When I shot this video at this point, I showed you how to set up Zoom and then a meeting within Zoom, but I figured that would be better on its own if you want to go back and do that at a separate time. So now I've actually put it in the 15-minute funnel filter call. So when you click that, it'll take you through to the video that just walks you through how to set up your account and how to make the meeting. And so I may refer to it later in the video, but it's because I shot it first, but now you can access that there, and it'll make it easier to search for it later. So now you know how to do that. How do you actually conduct the fast filter call? Well, first of all, we've got another FAST acronym for you. First of all, you want to frame the situation. Then you're going to do the assessing part. Then you want to simplify their problem so they're really clear that you understand it. And then you want to do the transition part. So the frame part is taking control of the call and you lead the conversation from the start. Okay, so this is all in the worksheet / script to follow how to do this call that I'm going to show you in a second. I can't think the name that you would use for it, but how do you do the call? You've got a sheet of how to do that. So first you're going to frame it. Then in the assessment part, you want to really focus on diagnosing if you can help or not. You're not trying to impress them at this stage, okay? Then you're going to simplify the problem, and this signals that you have a solution because people think when you understand the problem that you automatically can solve it. And then you're going to do the final transition. You book the strategy session or tell them it's not right for them. So let's look at how you do that call. So you've got this checklist here, the 15-minute funnel filter, which you can download and put into your Google Dropbox or on your computer right here. So it just guides you through the structure of the questions, tells you how to prepare for it, in a quiet room, no distractions. You don't want to be doing this in Starbucks where it's noisy or things like that if you can help it. And realize that you're there to assess them as a fit, not to try and impress them. Okay, it's really important that it gives you a whole different mindset and mentality for the call. And remember, you are diagnosing, not treating. So you don't want to start coaching on the call. Otherwise, they'll already feel like you have given them something that they can go away and work with. Okay, so it's not what you want to do. This is important for this stage and the sales stage as well. So here's a pro tip as well, and we're going to go through a few more of these in a second, but I wanted to highlight this one right now because it's really important. Let them talk when you ask them a question, okay? Just shut up and listen. So you ask the question, I'll show you what the questions are in a second, and then do something like count to 3 before you speak each time, because the biggest mistake you can make on this call is talking too much. You want to be getting information from them. Think of yourself as the doctor trying to understand what the patient's problem is. You're in full diagnosis. They're not just coming in and you're saying, okay, I want to give you these prescription pills. And they're like, well, you don't even know what's wrong with me yet, okay? So it's really important that you don't do much of the talking, okay? So like I said, here's the structure. So the way you frame it, you can say something like this. Hi, their name. It's your own name. How are you? Great, I have it in my calendar that we have a call, a 15-minute call right now. Is that right? And yeah, they always say yes because it's true. Okay, so we have 15 minutes and I have another call or some other reason straight after you. So we need to keep time. Is that okay? That just takes the pressure off them that it's going to go on ages, and just lets them know that it's going to be, a short call. So their answers want to be reasonably concise. And then you just say, great. So my job on the call is really simple. I'm going to ask you some questions to work out if or how I can help you. If I feel like I can't help you, I'll let you know politely and do my best to point you in the right direction. If I feel like I can help you, we'll book in another time to talk about that. Is that okay? Yes. So now they've got a clear outcome that you're only going to move on to a sales call if they're the right fit and they can have their problem solved. So you see already the kind of subtle positioning that does for if they are right, then they get led. It's like a commitment. They've already been framed as, oh, this is right for me if I'm right for the sales call. So then when I do get the sales call, I'm moving forward already on the journey towards becoming a client. Okay. So then once you've done that and they've agreed, you just go deep quickly into why they are there. So you might have say, why now? What's your motivation for scheduling a call right now? You want to try and get to the real emotional stuff. Sometimes they just give you an answer like, oh, well, I saw, you reached out and I was interested. And so you want to press them a little bit of saying, okay, well, what interested you? What are you trying to achieve right now? What's your number one priority? Okay. So you're trying to make sure that they start to engage in what the gap is between where they are now and where they want to go. You can also ask them why me, why do you think I'm the person to call? Now, sometimes I leave this one out because it's me who's positioned the meeting. There are other ways to do it that you can just subtly say, okay, so why do you think I can help you? Type thing, or later you'll see like, what are you looking for help on is where I take that question more. You want to expand the gap. What's the gap between your reality and the results you want? Go into specifically what's broken, missing, or not working, so you know whether the solution you have is something that they're open to. So if they think that they can't grow their business because they can't get their team engaged and you're a marketing expert, then they may not be the right fit for you, and you need to let them know that, okay? Whereas if they're just looking to grow their business and they think there's one problem, but you can explain to them how they need to get this other part that you can help them with, then that's fine. But there's no explaining on this call the case. You're just trying to dig for if it's worth going to a longer conversation. What they need, so that they're just telling you the things that you're then later going to use in the sales call. And the sales call is just basically a deeper version of this, using more psychological triggers and more emotion. But you're trying to just find out exactly what they want. The best salespeople just ask a lot of questions, and then they can make the perfect offer to the person on the other side. And then you want to know, is this a priority? Is this something you want to sort out sooner or later? Because they don't want to be perfect fit, but they don't want to get started on any of this for another 6 months from now, there's no point doing the call then. Only do the call if you know they're ready to buy. Then really, you can still keep in touch with other ways, but it's very rare that someone will pay you 6 months in advance such high fees as coaching for something they're going to do much later, unless obviously it's some big project. If you are an executive or leadership thing and you need to book time in the diary for this big event in the future, that's obviously different. But it's whether they're making the buying decision in the next time you speak or in the next few times you speak. So then once you've really diagnosed the problem and understood what's going on, then you just want to simplify it. So you could say these things, and you don't have to say all three. So you may say, okay, so you want the result, and this might be their number one priority, but without doing, the things that they want to avoid, the things that is missing, so you want to, add another $100,000 to your revenue, but you don't want to get, bogged down with lots of complicated marketing or whatever it is here. Whatever they may have told you is broken, missing, they've tried before. You don't want to waste a bunch of money on things that don't work. So then you're just playing back to them what they've said to you and simplifying it. Or you could say, you have this problem is you don't know how to generate leads online, and it's costing you, revenue and making you stressed because blah, blah, blah. The things that they've said here that you're playing back to them. Or you can say you don't have the thing that they desire and want, and it's hurting you because and the cause of that. Because when you do that, when you can clarify and explain the problem to somebody, in more succinctly than they have after you've been asking all these questions, then it automatically kind of implies you really understood what the problem is and that you may have a solution to do it. So it's really important to do that. And then the final part is you just transition. So if they are a fit, as I said at the start of the call, the purpose was to work out if and how I could help you. I know I can help you because this is a very similar situation. I've worked with people every week. I've coached XYZ before, and this obviously should be similar to them, and that'll be part of your filtering initially of who you get on the call. So the next step is for us to book another time about how we can do that. And you see, at the start of the call, this is exactly what you said you were going to do. My job on the call is to do this. And now you've asked them some questions like you said you would, and now you've diagnosed a problem, and you said, okay, now I know this, just as I said before, then it's time for us to go to the next step. And so it makes it an easy transition to the next step, okay? Now, if they're not a fit, you just say a similar but a different ending. So at the start of the call, I said I'd ask you a bunch of questions to work out if or how I could help you. Based on what you said, I don't think I'm the right guy for you. What I do recommend, however, is, and always leave them with asking, trying to help them and give value, just so it gives you a good name, reputation. You can also ask, if you want, if they know other people who might be the right fit. That's always an option to do that. Depends how comfortable you feel doing that. And now they've been filtered either way. And if you are going to book the next session, you agree the time, and then you just follow the same Zoom method, but this time make it for 45 minutes and then conduct the call that way. Or again, you can do the call on the phone if you want, but we would recommend recording it on Zoom and get them booked in and conduct the sales call. And we'll teach you how to do that in the next video. So that's really how you do it. So you've taken them through all these steps during the call, okay? And then I want you to understand the mindset and pro tips for on the call. So you want to remember these. First of all, assess, don't impress. It's really important that you're not trying to sell on this call. You're just trying to understand their problem and whether you can help or not. Okay, it's the diagnosis that you're doing. If a doctor was prescribing things without knowing what you had, it's malpractice, and someone would eventually die from doing that, and he would definitely lose his job. So it's really important that you're focused on understanding their problem and what they want, rather than trying to push your solution onto them. So diagnose the problem and go deep. You want to understand the emotional things that are triggering them, of why they bothered to take the time out of their day to speak to somebody about this problem. So you want to ask the question and then shut up, okay? You don't want to be always jumping in and interrupting and, adding another point. And this can happen when you get excited, especially when there's a client that feels the right fit and you can help them. You're so eager to go, yeah, and then we can do this. And no, don't do that at all. Ask the question and shut up. And then when they answer, just say, okay, and then either tell me more or go on to the next question. Now, one way to do this is count to 3 before you respond. And it's absolutely fine to do it. And because quite often when you do this, they'll add more anyway because they're uncomfortable with the silence, and you'll get deeper things. So you can just be there, appreciating them, listening to them. And then as they stop speaking, just go 1, 2, 3. And if they don't say anything, then go, okay. And then ask the next question. It's a really important way just to make sure you're not always interrupting, and that you keep, you get the most out of them, and you keep yourself from jumping in. You want to keep your energy up, but don't get overexcited and talk too much. So when you ask the questions, you want to be engaging. Say, okay, so what do you feel is really missing or broken right now that you really want to fix? So there's energy in the voice, but then I'm not going on, and I'm not jumping in when they start speaking. So there's good energy, but they've got the space in order to be able to share. And then a really pro tip is you can just try and really make sure that you're exuding appreciation through the phone, because what you don't want to do is all of a sudden, come across judgmental, because as soon as you judge them, they'll just shut down, and then you won't get anything out of them, and they won't want to be on the call anymore. And they definitely, even if you offered the longer session, they won't even be interested, because they'll just feel they're going to get judged for 45 minutes. So you can focus on that appreciation while you're asking the questions. So now you know why the call's important. You know how to set up the call technically. You know how to conduct the call, and the pro tips in order to do it. So there's one thing to do, is to get finding, and then get filtering those clients so that you find the right people to speak to. And then you're speaking to more people who are the right fit, who are then going to become your clients when you learn how to really use sales psychology to position your coaching as something that they can't say no to. And we're going to teach that in the next video.